ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर्श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरकृषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य त्वन्वयादितुरतश्चार्थेषु भिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। We are studying from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, chapter 13, beginning from verse number 1. So we read in the last chapter how that Bharat, he was explaining about the illusory nature of the world and the only reality is Vasudeva. And then he said that this reality can be known only by the grace of the devotees. Rahumaneta tapsanayati. So he said that without Mahat Padrajo Vishekam, without serving the devotees, it is not possible. And how to get that? So one has to have association of devotees and hear from them. Yatto from sloka gunanuvada prastuyate gramya katha vidate. So when one hears this gunanuvad, the recitation of Lord's activities, qualities, then this mundane talk which is going on outside and also inside, this comes to an end. This is the only solution. And then one becomes free from the bondage to the material world. So his instructions are over here, but Jadabharat is being very compassionate. He continues to speak the chapter, next chapter, and also even after that. So this is too much compassion. Some people say that King Rahugana was actually the deer in whom he was attached. So Bharat was king and there was a deer, and then it changed. The deer became the king, and the king became the deer. That's why he was saying earlier that why you think you are king, sometimes maybe I will be the king and you will be down here. Because he already knew this, that this little fellow was my little deer, now he is sitting on my head and talking big things. He has become proud because I fondled him so much. So he is therefore out of compassion wants him to understand. And if you read the whole story of Bharat from beginning to end, the important point is renunciation or detachment. Because detachment is very important for devotion in the beginning. Although detachment itself is not part of bhakti, and it does not also lead directly to devotion by itself, but in the beginning stage it is important. Rupa Goswami says that in the beginning this Jnana and Vairagya, they help. Because if one is completely materialistic attached, then this whole idea of devotion will not come, or one will totally misunderstand it, because there is also attachment in devotion. So therefore in Bhagavatam, this idea of attachment, how to give it up, is very much stressed. And still people misunderstand when they come. This is all preparation for the 10th canto, where the real activities of pure devotion without any vilasa, without any upadhis will be described. And if these points are not made clear, then there are various types of doubts keep coming. As even Parikshit was asking this, that Krishna is the Dharma Setu, so Pratipam Acharat Brahma. How did he behave in a contrary manner? Pardara Vimarshana, that he was enjoying the wives of others. So of course he is a representative of common person, he understands. But these are the type of doubts which come in the mind. So that's why it is very important to cultivate this idea that absolute reality is beyond that. And that's why he has very strongly made this point that the things are not real, although that is not our philosophy actually, that the world is not real. But as Vishwanath Chakravarti was explaining, that taking the opinion of others, he is trying to establish this, so that because kings are very attached, so he is telling, although this king was going to take instructions, and Bharat came in between, thought this guy is my chela, where is he going? So he caught him on the way. So now he is going to explain an allegorical way. Sometimes allegory is used to make one understand. So he makes a very interesting allegory, as we studied in case of King Puranjana. Narad Rishi was also describing the allegory of a city. And here he makes this world as a forest. In Sanskrit there is a nice word, it is called bhavatavi. Bhava means in the material world, and atavi means forest. So bhavatavi is the explanation, or the allegory which is shown, how people get lost in the forest. So if you get lost in the forest, there is nothing but suffering. Especially if it is a forest where there are wild animals. So this is how he describes the human life is like wandering in the forest without GPS. So he says, Duratya advanaya niveshito rajastame sattva vibhakta karmadrik saesha sartho artha paribhraman bhavatvim yati na sharma vindati. So he is saying that there is a sartha. Sartha has double meaning. Artha means goal. Artha means also object. Artha also means money. So sartha is also used for a business person, because they are after money. And sartha also means one who has purpose, who is trying to achieve something. So he says, Sayesa sartho artha parabhrama, that there is a businessman. Because previously in India, people used to travel for business from one place to another. And they have to travel through forests, so they will also sometimes get into trouble. So he says, Sayesha Sartha Paro, this living being is Sartha, is like a business person, or like people things. They go around from one place to another place selling things. Still do in India. Now malls are coming. But it was very common that people used to come to the village to sell things. So Arthapara means he is after Artha. He is looking to make some money. And Paribhraman Bhavatavim Yati. So he is wandering. And Duratte Advanaya Niveshito. By the mistake, he was following the path. And by mistake, Duratvahe Advanaya, he says, Anaya here, he says Ajaya, means because of ignorance. Because this is the world where one gets covered by ignorance. And Duratya means difficult to cross over. So he got onto this path and enters into the Bhavatavi, Niveshito, and Rajastana Sattva Vibhakta Karmadrik. So what is the person's vision is divided by various karma inspired by Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Which means a human being wants to perform activities sometimes in Sattva, sometimes in Rajas, sometimes in Tamas. And so this is the vision, and with this vision he is walking on the path, which is not a very good road, Duratya, very difficult to walk on. It means really there is no path in the forest, there is no road there. So Adhvani Anaya or Ajaya, because of ignorance, Aja is goat, Aja also is word used for Maya. So then he is going all around, lost there, and Bhavatmim Yatina Sarma Vindati, and he finds no peace there. So this is the story of human life, that a human being is lost here in this material world, has certain goals and works for those goals using Rajastama and Sattva Bhakta Karma with the intention of gaining certain material objects, and he keeps on wandering from one place to another place. There is no peace for him. So Sri Srimad comments, Trayodase bhavattavyaha param prapayitum nripam tam varnitva vairagya hayam arohayan muni. So he says in 13th chapter there is a description of this forest in the form of the material world, and to make the king cross this forest, the sage Bharat, he makes him ride on a horse of vairagya or renunciation, detachment. So he describes first the forest, and then he says that the only way you can cross this forest is by the horse of renunciation, vairagya. otherwise it is not possible. So this whole chapter is about Vairagya, so you have to hear a little bit of tension because it is not very pleasing what he is going to say. It's not pleasing at all. So advana param iti yuktam saiva adva advaninascha kidrisha iti apekshayamaha durate. So he said advana param iti yuktam. Previously he had said this in the last verse of the previous chapter. He had made this statement, Harim tadiha kam kasyan shrutabhyam labdha smriti riyati ati paramadhyam. Because he was talking about that one should cut this attachment by the sword of knowledge, and then one becomes detached from whatever one has heard or seen, and then one goes beyond the adva, the path from this material world. So he is taking that as a clue and then beginning the second chapter. That's why he says advana param iti yuktam advaninasya. So what he is saying is that the king himself is the traveler, not someone else. So that's what he is saying. Duratya dustare. Duratya means dustar, which is very difficult to walk on it, traverse on it. Advani pravritti marga. This is the path of pravritti or attachment. So there are only two paths, path of attachment and path of attachment. So pravritti and nivritti. So pravritti is a bhutanam, nivritti is to mahafala. Manu said in Manusmriti that the people in the material world, they are very much into pravritti. This word vritti is very important. Came before also. Now the word is used in pravritti and nivritti. So there are vrittis in the mind. And these vrittis which keep you here in the material world, they are called pravrittis. And which make you free, they are called nivritti. So this is the vision, and you are following that path of pravritti. So he says, pravritti marge ajaya avidyaya rajastama sattvair vibhaktani eva karmani. So one is walking and one is having the torchlight in the hand of ignorance. Means there is no proper vision. His eyes are already sattva-rajas tamas, and then he has his headlight in the car, which are also not focused properly. So he says, Raja tama sattva vibhaktani eva karmani karyataya pashyati. He sees all his activities only as an outcome of Rajatama and Sattva. Sa tatha esha prasiddha sartha. So he is the prasiddha. Sa esha sartha means well known mercantile person, sartha, vanik, vaishya. So now the king, he is making him into a businessman. And this is the big insult for any kshatriya, you call him a businessman. So sartha vanika samuha syat. Sartha, he says, is not just one vanik, but like a group of businessmen. They are walking, they used to walk in groups. Timedani saiva arthpara eva esha jivaloke. So he says that this living being is arthpara, looking for some material goals or looking for money. You take the meaning of the word artha as economy or wealth. So because he is business, so he looks for money. Etad adinam vyakhya uttaradhyaya asti tadapi supratipatte kinchid vyakhyasete. So actually in the next chapter, he himself will explain the meaning of this allegory, this whole story. But Vishwanath Chakravarti says that for easy understanding, because people always complain making long sentences and what is going on. So then you have to wait for the whole chapter and then he gives the meaning. So he says, I will explain little bit. All the explanation will come later on. So just as we saw that Narada Rishi told the whole story of King Puranjana and Puranjana, and then he gave the meaning behind it. So like that he will also do. So yasyami me Sannardeva dasyavaha sartha vilumpanti kunayakam balat gomayo yatra haranti sarthikam pramattama vishayat horunam brikaha. So these people have entered into the forest, and when they enter into the forest there are 6 dacoits which come there and they plunder them. So yasyai me Shanardeva Dasyava. So there are 6 plunderers which we are carrying with us. And Sartham Vilumpanti. So they are plundering the business people. Kunayakam Balat. Forcibly, obviously. Nobody gives happily. So they are plundering him. And Gomayevo Yatra Haranti Sarthikam. So he says, just like the Gomaya or Haranti Sarthikam, just like they are jackals, they are plundering. And he gives another example, it's like wolves, they go and enter into the sheeps and carry the sheep out. So that's how they are being plundered. Ime Indriya Namana. So who are the plunderers? Robbers? They are the senses. So we have 6 senses, 5 external and 1 mind. And these senses are plundering us day and night, because they are taking away our life, our time, which is meant for knowing Krishna. Human life is life. The only purpose is to know God, to realize God, to serve God. That is the only purpose of human life. There is no other purpose. But our senses are always demanding us, from us, things other than devotion to God. So that's why they are compared to robbers. So Krishna also says, Haranti Prabhuman, and the senses, they take away the mind, like the boat is carried away by the wind, and then mind along with them takes the person away. But why does it happen? He says, because all this group of business people, they have one leader, but he is a Kunayaka. He is not a good leader. Like at present, we have leaders. They are not good leaders, because their intelligence is only on materialistic goals. So Nayaka here is the buddhi, our intelligence. Because in human beings, buddhi is supposed to be the leader. But we don't follow our buddhi, or our buddhi also falls, our intelligence also falls under the influence of mind and senses. So Krishna says, Buddhya yukta yaya partha karma bandham prahasyase. That if one is endowed with buddhi, because buddhi, intelligence, is that which gives us discernment. It is from buddhi we understand what is right, what is wrong. It is only buddhi which gives us enlightenment, light. So if we do not use that properly, then it is a bad leader. So we are misusing our intelligence only to fulfill the desire of the robbers. Buddhi is that which, because when you have senses and you perceive sense objects from outside, then mind informs you that what the object is. And then mind tells you whether it is good or bad, whether it likes or doesn't like. That's all mind does. Mind only gives information that it is pleasing or not pleasing. So that's where the duality begins, at the level of mind. When the information comes to the mind, it is raw sensation. It does not have anything with it. There are no emotions involved with it, no feelings. As soon as it hits the mind, then it is bifurcated into pleasure and pain, like, dislike. So that's where the duality comes. And then it is given to the ego. And then ego says, yes, I like it. It is the mind which makes the decision, which makes this division of liking and disliking. That is the function of mind. And then the ego, he takes it for himself that yes, I like it, I don't like it. When actually it is the mind which likes or which does not like. So then ego says, I like it. And then when he like it, then he wants to have it. So then buddhi is the one which supplies how you can have it. So buddhi actually is supposed to function at that time that you may like it, but whether it is it good for you or not. You like to eat chocolate. Mind likes it. You see or you smell nice fragrance. Then the mind even says, oh, very nice. And then ego says, yes, I want it. So now intelligence has to say that no, you should not have it because you don't need it. It will cause you trouble. You are diabetic. So you will suffer after eating it. That buddhi should tell, but then buddhi does not tell that. Buddhi will give rationalization why you should have it. So that is the meaning of kunayaka. So just as we have beginningless ignorance in us, anadi avidya, everybody has. We also have beginningless discernment, vivek. The function of buddhi is vivek, this discrimination of good and bad. This is also there in everybody. Everybody has this. But this is what becomes covered. Jnanena avritam jnanam telmayanti janta. So when this becomes covered, then we become bewildered. And then we just function according to our senses. So then he says that Kutsito Nayaka Sarthir Buddhi. So Buddhi is also considered as the chariot driver. So as Krishna says, Buddhi Rasmi Buddhimatam, that I am the intelligence of the intelligent. So he is the intelligence, he is the representative of intelligence, that's why he is driving the chariot. Arjuna. So he is the one who is leading. So buddhi in us is actually a representative of Krishna. His body is compared to the chariot. So he says that Sarathi Tam Vilumpanti, they plunder him. Bhagavad Sevarth Vinyuktam Api Dhanam Swasva Vishya Bhogartham Mushnanti. So what is the meaning of plundering? He says that the wealth which is to be engaged in the service of the Lord, that they engage in their own service. So we use our wealth, our possessions only for our senses. When it comes to giving some charity, some donation, then we pull out some coins and throw. We go to these temples and Indians are throwing the coins. Or if they have the most solid bills torn, then they will put in the donation box. So good things for ourselves, the useless things can give to birds, if at all you want to give. So this is how they are plundering. So Gomayavah Shrigal Tulya Darapatyade. So there are since these plunders are there, and there are also jackals. They are also coming and pulling away your food. Because previously there were no restaurants or anything, so people used to carry their food also. So who are the Gomayava jackals? He says these are the wife and children. I already told you. I warned you. So wife also means husband. Means for the husband, because here he is talking to the husband. So for husband, wife. And for wife, the husband is the plunderer. So they are plundering each other. And they think this is great. They are very happy about it. So this is the meaning of Ajaya. He said that they are walking on the path of ignorance. This is the meaning, that ignorance is that when you do something wrong and you feel happy about it. Then you feel you are in bliss. So, Gomayavaha Srigal Tulya Tarapatyade Tvamme Bharta Pita Ityevam Sarthikam Sarth Bhavam Annam Vastradi Samputam Kam Karmadi Bhir Gahvare Grihashrame Samputam Pramattam Parmartha Drishti Mumkham Avishyatasya Grihayavant Karneti Pravishya. So he says that the wife will say, you are my husband, you have to buy this for me, you have to buy that for me. And the children will say, I need to eat this, give me this. So they are always demanding from the husband or from the father. And they are taking away whatever he has. So Pramattam Avishya Yathornam. And this guy is Pramatta. He is intoxicated. So Matta, Pramatta, Unumatta. There are various levels of people. There are people who are called Matta, means mad. And then there are Unumatta, means beyond mad, completely. And then there are Pramatta, intoxicated. So he says this person is intoxicated. That's why he does not know that they are actually there. There are two types of people who are plundering him here. There are people whom he knows that they are plunderers. And the other is whom he thinks they are my relatives. They are my friends, my family people. But both are plundering him. So that is the meaning of intoxicated person. Parmartha Drishti Vimukha. So intoxicated means that his vision is not on the Paramartha. He is not God oriented. His face is turned away from the Paramartha, from what is ultimately beneficial for him. He is not concerned about that. He is concerned about things which are taking him to the hell. And he is very happy about it. He wants it. So just like when someone drinks too much and falls in a ditch and he thinks he is in a swimming pool. So like that they enter his house and plunder. So house here is the antakarana, that they enter your heart, and heart has no discrimination. The difference between buddhi and antakarana or chitta is that buddhi has discrimination and chitta is without discrimination. Therefore it is said that love is blind. Right? Because once you get into somebody's heart, then you can get anything from that person. Because heart does not think logically. Heart is illogical. That's why in love people do anything. There is no logic for love. If you go with logic, you cannot have love. And if you want love, you cannot have logic. So you have to drop logic for love. Because you have to go from buddhi to the chitta. So that's where they enter. Because when little children, those of you who have had experience of having little babies, how sweet they sound. And they start speaking little bit. How it's just music to the ears. And you are ready to do anything for them. So this is entering into your, the baby is completely in your antakaran. So like that wife, children, they enter into the, because heart is also compared, is called guha, like a cave, and house is also like a cave where you live. So they enter there. So that means they are right there inside you. You cannot even think that they are my enemies or they are troubling me. This is what Arjuna was having the problem. In Bhagavad Gita it is depicted in another way. These people have been put right in front of him, like enemies. And he looks at them, he says, you call them my enemy? He says, Katham Bhismam Aham Sankhya Dronam Cha Arisudana. Ishubhi Pratiyot Sami Puja Hava Arisudana. He says, how can I shoot arrows at them? They are worthy of my worship. So, these enemies are right in you. They are your relatives, they are your friends, family members. So he says, how I don't even want to live by killing them. Because if I kill them, what is remaining in me? This is my life. So this is how an intoxicated person speaks. You can imagine when Arjuna is talking like this and Krishna is listening to him, that's why he was smiling. So, wow, you are a big scholar. So he is talking out of ignorance and he is appearing like a big pandit, big philosopher. So Jad Bharat had the same thing because king was talking like a philosopher and Jad Bharat was listening to him. So now he is giving him back very nicely. So he says, they pravishya urunam mesam, and then they drag away, just like the wolf enters into what you call a group of sheep, herd, and pulls one. So if you have seen this sheep, they're just making sound and you see the wolf, they're terrified. So then they take away. This is how the plundering is done. So then this is not enough. Now he is being plundered, he is still walking in the forest, he is lost. And then he sees some other problematic situations there. He says, Prabhuta Viruta Trinam Gulma Gahvare Kathora Dansair Maskair Upadrutaha Kvachit tu Gandharva Puram Prapashyati Kvachit Asur Athol Mukha Graham. So now he enters the forest, and this forest is very dense forest. There you see forest in the west, inside you cannot even walk there. So there are a lot of trees creepers, plants, grass, and Gavara means very dense. So Prabhuta Viruta Tran Gulma Gavara means there is no proper way to walk in it. There is no clear direction where I am going, what I am doing. And Kathora Dansai Maskai Rupadruta. I don't know whether there are mosquitoes in the West, but in India there are also mosquitoes. And there are two types. One is called Dansha. Dansha is a big mosquito. In Hindi it is called dance. So Dansa literally means which bites. And Mashak. The word mosquito comes from Mashak. Sanskrit word is Mashaka. And Masaka it becomes Masakita. Kita means kit, worm, mosquito. So there are all these big mosquitoes flying in the forest and they are drinking your blood, biting you, and like an injection, taking your blood out. That's how they pump out blood from your body. And then even there he sees Gandharvapuram, he sees a city in the sky, shining. Means he sees some hope that I am going to visit this city and do my business. There is no city. Gandharvapura means something like mirage in the desert. So maybe there are clouds in the sky and they look like some city. So Kvachit tu Gandharvapuram prapashyati Kvachit Ashurayor Ulmak Graham. And he is seeing also some Ulmuk Graha walking very fast, some like ghostly people. Pishacha. So some ghostly beings are effulgent. So he sees them around like that and then he is bewildered what is to be done. So Prabhu tu Virodha Adi Sadrishahi Kama Karmadi Bhir Gavare. So what are these intense forest? These are the material desires. Because material desires make you bewildered and you act on them and you really do not know which direction to take. Whether I should do this or I should do that. I should try to fulfill this desire first or do that. Fulfill another desire. So Griha Ashrame Dans Masaktulai Durjanai. So previously these people were family people who were friendly, entering in his heart. Then there are masakas, the mosquitoes, etc. He says these are the rogues or wicked people in the material world who also try to trouble you. They come to you, give you your money, they borrow money from you and don't return. It's like sucking your blood. So you have to deal with these people. You know that this guy is a rascal, still you have to deal with them. So these are the mosquito type people. You cannot avoid them and there are plenty of them. Because mosquitoes are not one or two. Here. In huge numbers. So these are the Durjanas. And Gandharpuravad Aghatmanam Dege Adikam Prakarshena Satyam Sthiram Eva Idamiti Pashyati. And then he sees some nice city. So that is like you have this body, you know that body is getting old. Your teeth are falling down. Right?
Or falling out.
Falling out.
Yes.
And if they are not falling out, they are troubling inside anyway. But you want to remain in this body. That is the Gandharvapura. You want to keep it and think that you will enjoy it. So that is the vision, that is the thought, that is how one keeps on thinking in the mind. So although it will never happen, but still one has hope against hope. Prakarshena Satyam, consider this as real, and sthiram, and permanent. Idam pashyati. Kvapi kapi ashuraya ativegova ulmukakaro griha pisache tam tulyam suvarnam upadeyatyena pashyati. And then he may see some ghostly being, graha, who is ulmukakar, means like a firebrand, which means that he sees some gold or something and thinks that gold is useful for me. Or it could mean that he sometimes feels my death is coming. So this is what one goes on seeing in one's life, even in the material world. So, Nivasatoya dravinam abuddhis tato dhavati bhotavyam Kvachitcha vatyokthit pansa dhumra disho na janati rajasvalaksha. So sometimes he sees that there is some place where there is water flowing, and he considers that he can go and quench his thirst, so he runs for that, thirsty. And sometimes there is big whirlwind, vatya, and that is creating a lot of dust and darkness, and his eyes get full of dust and he does not know which way to go. So this is what he is experiencing. So Nivasadishu Atmano Mameva idam buddhir yasya tatha bhutasam tatastata bhavati tivihatr pakshe tavaneva. So he considers his nivas, his residence, toya, dravin, atma buddhi. Dravin means wealth, water means food, drinks. So he considers them as atma buddhi and runs behind them or remains attached to them. Tatha bhutasam tatastata tatra tatra dhavati iti ubhyatra pakshe tavaneva. So he says this can be understood in both ways. That person is running, or he is in the forest and is running for water and wealth. So it is both ways. And taduthai pans vatya chakravat rupa, then there is a whirlwind. And what is the whirlwind? He says whirlwind is the wife. Sa taduthai panshubhi kandarpa vegai. So he sees the wife, or wife sees the husband. And then there is the vega, or what is the vega? Push for the sex desire, kama vega. So that is like the whirlwind. It goes in the mind, and when the mind is full of sex desire, it is just like a big tornado inside. And the person becomes blinded, as if dust has fallen, and he does not see anything else. Becomes kamandha. In Niti Sloka, Diva Pashyati no luko, Kako nattam pashyati, Apurva kopi purusho, Kamandho diva nattam pashyati. Says that the owl does not see in the daytime and a crow does not see at night. But there is a very amazing person, blinded by lust, who sees neither in day nor at night. So this is kamandha, this is blindness because of the kama. And then Taduthai kandar bhavegai dhumra achanni krita disha digdevata karam sakshi bhuta. So then his direction is covered by this, which means that every direction has a presiding deity. He does not see them, which he translates that he does not see that whatever activity he is performing, they are being witnessed by these devatas, the deities. So he engages in forbidden activities or sinful activities, And na janati rajaswalaksha kamandha. So rajaswalaksha means the dust in the eyes means blind. Dust. Rajas means dust. Rajas also means passion. Means the eyes are full of passion. And rajaswala is also used for a woman in the period, that is also called rajaswalaksha. So these words all have double meaning. So this is the description he gives, and then he will continue. Read that tomorrow. Any question?
We're speaking about Pravritti Marg and Nivritti Marg.
Yes.
So, how would you define the path of bhakti in relation to these terms?
Bhakti is beyond pravritti and nivritti. Sometimes it is called nivritti marg, but actually it is beyond both.
Mm-hmm.
It has both in it.
Mm-hmm.
It has pravritti and nivritti. You can perform actions, at the same time you detest. So you can say this is the detest path of pravritti.
So in modern language we might say it includes and transcends
Right.
both pravritti and nivritti.
Yes. Any other questions?
You spoke about beginning with viveka, which becomes covered. So this covering is also beginningless.
Beginningless covering.
Yeah, and this often misunderstood verse in the Gita, which speaks about the covering of knowledge, speaks about this viveka. Not any.
Because if you take literally, that's what it means. But how can ignorance cover knowledge? You try to understand. If you take the literal meaning, it says ajnanena avritam jnanam. That ignorance is covering the knowledge. Now, give me one example where ignorance can cover knowledge. If you know something, how can that be covered by ignorance? It's like how can light be covered by darkness? Cannot cover light by darkness.
About this function of the mind and the intelligence. So then you were saying that when the intelligence is not, because this discrimination between good and bad is in the intelligence, right?
Yes.
And the mind is just putting the both things there. And then the intelligence should say, okay, this is good and this is bad. I could not understand how this becomes a feeling, an emotion, like this Arjuna, he was saying, okay, now you want me to see all this like my enemies, right? And then he became emotional, means that because these things were inside of him.
Yeah, of course. He has attachment to them, the attachment is coming out.
Yeah, but then the intelligence doesn't discriminate.
So intelligence discriminates, then he will not speak like that.
So much big thing is we could not understand what he was saying. I misunderstood what he said.
So you understand now or you don't understand?
And the question is, if these feelings are inside,
Yeah.
because there's a attachment, then the intelligence becomes blocked, it doesn't function anymore.
Yeah, it can or it may not, it depends. If your intelligence is already polluted, then it's covered, but if you have torchlight of knowledge and you are working with that, then you may have those emotions, you don't get covered by them. The emotions may come and you don't pay attention to them. That's the meaning of being aware. You don't lose your awareness. So emotions are there, emotions are attached with that experience or the object which you have experienced. Suppose you eat something and you like it. So not only that you have experience of eating this at this taste, sweet or sour, but also your liking and how much you liked. That is also stored along with it. So when that experience is activated by seeing that object or by hearing or smelling or whatever, various ways that experience can become activated, then that feeling also comes along with it. So if he has now seen Bhishma, then the seeing Bhishma is a perception, is a person standing, light falling on the eyes, making a picture. You recognize this is Bhishma. But it's not only just recognizing this is Bhishma, but how he has dealt with him in the past, how he has been very respectful and obedient to him, and how Bhishma has very affectionately treated him. That also comes out along with it. And that's what is covering the discrimination. So then instead of seeing that I'm here to fight with them and they are the same people who are my enemies now, he becomes influenced by that. And so that's how he starts speaking. So mostly that's what is happening to people in general. They are unable to see things without emotions. So that's why he said that you take the sword of knowledge in the last verse of previous chapter. So knowledge means this understanding. So if you don't have this understanding, then our knowledge is only related with material relations, material objects, material feelings.
So, Babaji, I was just thinking, like in the case of people who are looking for what should be available and unavailable love objects, like let's say, for example, a child did not have a loving mother or father, and that's what they always wanted. So they can spend a whole lifetime being attracted to those persons who don't feed or nurture them in the way in which they wanted to be fed or nurtured by their parents, and they gravitate towards what's unavailable. And on some level, they know it's not going to work out, but they're still, it's like a repetition.
Yeah, that's what it means, losing the vision.
Losing the vision.
That's meaning becoming blind. So he's just giving an example of sex desire, but it could be other desires. Whatever becomes prominent, and that's what guides your life.
So it's an attachment to what's dysfunctional, in a sense, that isn't working, won't work.
Yes. That is the Gandharvapura, that is the city in the sky. So you're trying to reach which doesn't exist. Right. Chasing the water, mirage water in the desert. So if you keep moving, you will never reach it. It doesn't exist. So these are just examples, Gandharvapura, Akash Kushan, Marichika, Mrid Marichika. Alright, Haribol. So sometimes this doesn't record when it happens.
You mean it stops recording?